The whole of their ruin was in a tight spot, right, and the falling of the awning made the giants start to fight. We've fought them in and fail, and we've fought them on the trail. We've fought them in a flying castle. It was really quite a hassle. Quinch, Dab of Greg and Weasel, Sebastian, Mosey and Krill all started back in Nightstone. Heralded by the ringing of bells, 5 unwitting adventurers met as one. They would soon become the circus, tales of their adventures would be told. Catamon and Alkitu, hired we remember you. Evil Lord Von Ripton, solid who burned your mansion down. Harshnok, Kedrock, Gabriella, you crazy little magic fella. Zephyrus, you are a G, we remember all our friends and foes. Now the dragon has been slain, the Storm King will restore balance to the world of giants, peace shall reign once more. Not bad for 5 who started so low. Now we have so much to show, the adventure is no more.
Daboff.
Yes.
The gnome from Neverwinter.
Oh, fuck. Here we go.
The gnome who died. The gnome who didn't know why they came back. Tell me how you kill Imrith the dragon.
It's got to be with a backflip. It's prone, isn't it?
Yeah.
It is, yeah.
So imagine like a backflip over, but while he's upside
Nuggies
down.
spraying everywhere.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Catherine Wheel.
He's given the finger with one hand, and as he's upside down, stabbing upwards to him into its head, and then just lands with a flourish and a bit of a twirl of the rapier, and then probably says Dragon D's nuts, because why not?
Yeah.
You do so. Your blade kills the dragon, and even though it was laid prone at the time, its gigantic body still sort of spreads out. Its wings expand out, and it starts taking up almost more than its space as it was stood. And you can see sort of its last breath leave as Imrith the dragon dies. As it does so, from clenched around one of its claws, you suddenly sense something moving, and you hear the noise of like a clink, 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 as the Eye of the Allfather starts rolling down the stairs, eventually resting at the foot of Princess Sarissa. She looks down, noticing it, and picks it up, and looks around at her Storm Giant comrades, looks around at the heroes, and weeps. We fade out from this moment of victory as you've defended Maelstrom from Imrith and her hordes. We fade back in a day, maybe 2 days later. We're back in this very same room. The corpses have been cleared, and you are stood in front of the throne at the south of the room. Sitting there is a much healed King Hecaton, who looks incredibly more awesome in the true sense of the word, and healthier than the last time you'd laid eyes on him. You stand to a hero's reception from the king. Seated to his side is Princess Sarissa, and also his other daughter, Nim, who still has an air of coldness about her, but you can sense that certainly she is much chided and much more humbled for her experiences. King Hecaton thanks you all for your part, thanks you for saving him, for protecting his home, for doing what many would not be able to do, let alone choose to do. He asks if there is anything that he can do for you as a sign of gratitude for your part in the story of Storm King's Thunder.
I think I would want him to rebuild the towns that were destroyed by the giants.
Yeah.
First thing. Restoring trust again with the humans.
He looks at you and says that this is something that he absolutely can do, will do, and should do.
I assume is the ordning restored now because he's back and everything. Like, we don't have to ask him to restore it.
You ask him if the ordning is back. You ask the giants whether this is something. You ask maybe Harshnag, because obviously this is something that all giants feel, and you get the same answer from all of them, that as far as they can tell, that the ordning has not returned.
Can I ask for like a fairer system in that the lower down ones in the ordning are treated maybe a bit fairer than they were, or maybe even reconsider the ordning altogether? It feels like it's very much a decision for them, but maybe I could, on behalf of all of us, ask that they maybe consider a fairer system, or at the very least that the lower people are treated better than they were, maybe.
He listens to your requests and says that the actions of those that giants would potentially see below them, yourselves, he has realised that a social structure whereby those less fortunate, or those considered to be lesser, are perhaps just as vital to a successful landscape as any that are born at the top. He agrees that a social structure much more forgiving should be put in place.
Dabov just kind of nods agreeingly.
Are we allowed to ask for slightly more personal stuff?
Okay.
May I request that for me you deliver a message? Take any part of Imrith, be it the head, the claw, or wing. Deliver it to Rule Tazula and tell him Krill will not be returning.
He tells you that he knows very briefly of this rule. Was it rule? Is it Rule Tazula? Yeah. He knows of this rule by name and reputation more so than personally, and he says that if this is your wish, he will grant that to you.
Perhaps as an extension of the potential social reconstruction of the land, I've become quite captivated by your daughter. We've spent the last few days getting to know each other better. I would like to show her the land, perhaps as we could be your special envoys for the community, gathering their thoughts, wishes, and feedback. Perhaps looking to take those ideas forward, and as we help to reconstruct the land in the wake of this.
He tells you that his daughter is her own, the master of her own destiny, that she has been a suitable leader of the Storm Giants, although some perhaps disagree. However, she has earned his respect even more so than before he disappeared, and suggests that if this is something she wishes, then this is something that you and her would need to agree on. It is not his place to grant it.
You are correct. We have already discussed it, and we agreed that I should ask you out of order anyway.
For your blessing.
She agrees.
She's not speaking for herself, you're speaking for her, yeah? Amazing.
She's in the other room.
And anything from Dweezil?
No, Dweezil doesn't require anything other than Daboff very much covered everything that Dweezil wanted to say.
Yeah.
So I just concur with that.
He once again thanks you for your heroism, your courage, your bravery, your good counsel. He knows Hecaton. He knows Harshnag. He's met Harshnag many times before, and Harshnag has spoken incredibly highly of all of you. He tells you that, as far as he's concerned, you will always have a place at Maelstrom. He gives you individual conches, each of which sized perfectly for your individual height, shall we say.
Mine's not much smaller than the normal one.
No, exactly. Yours is not much smaller than that. And says that you are always welcome back at any given time. We fade out from Maelstrom. And so our story ends. For the better, it would seem, as the missing King Hecaton is back on the throne. But whilst this may be a story, the happily ever after did not come so swiftly as in the fairy tales you were read as children. Once the Storm King regained his full strength, most of the lords and their bannermen bent the knee with ease. But there were still outliers and rebels who do not bow to the king. They continue to represent a danger to the realm, one which Hecaton does not take too kindly. With his renewed vigour, and Dabble's request ringing in his ears, to show that he is worthy of helping the giants into a new age, protecting all in the world, not just those of his stature, Hecaton set about tidying up the mess he felt partially responsible for. He first rounded up the rogues and either turned their heads or removed them altogether. He then ventured into the world personally, something he has not done for decades, to sign treaties with mankind. From now on, giants would only look down on the other races from a literal sense, not a metaphorical one. Before long, Hecaton realised that power should not sit with one person. For that only leads to complacency and arrogance. He abdicated his title, announcing that no giant shall ever be called king again, and created the Council of the All-Father. Representatives from all giant ancestries, from Storm to Hill, would be a part of the council, lending their booming voices to the discussion on how they can improve their fortunes. At first, this was an uneasy alliance, as each of the lords tried to improve the fortunes of their respective kin. But eventually, this settled, and the council succeeded in bringing a new peace to the realm. But this is not just a story of giants. Our heroes have shown that it stretches far beyond them, with faces across the land impacted by the events. Heading away from Maelstrom and the depths of the sea, we head south to Tribor. Urgula Meltimer stands gazing at the construction site where her beloved Northshield Inn once stood, before the fire giants returned to reclaim the Vonindod peace. A new inn meant a new name, and she was lost in thought when a tap on her shoulder brought her back to the present. It was her old friend, Lord Zymorvan. The two spent the next several hours catching up on the years they'd lost, sharing stories and reminiscing about their old adventuring days. As the conversation continued, at some point Lord Zymorvan broke down, weeping as he recounted the tale of his son, and how he was never able to say goodbye. Urgula simply pulled him into a hug and held him as he cried. We drift from one inn to another. The doors of the Nightstone Inn creaked open, and Morak was alerted to the sounds of excited voices entering the tavern. The crowd parted to reveal Mendel Sands. Morak's confusion turned to delight at the sight of a familiar face he had assumed had been eaten by goblins all those weeks ago, and he instinctively slammed an ale down on the bar. Without a second glance, Mendel pushed the drink away, and instead pulled a meek man forward. Morak's smile slowly dropped as the former guard began telling the story, the tragic story of Francis Swordhand. From the father of a bard to a bard themselves, as Catamon de Piggins finds herself in Silvery Moon, performing to a packed house. No matter where she went, she was able to connect with people, and her reputation grew with each passing show. They would delight in her vicious barbs, so succinctly pieced together, and would chant along with her as she exclaimed her catchphrase, "Catamon roast you." Finishing her final haiku, she signed a few parchments on the way out, and decided to check out the other local talent in Silvery Moon. Her eyes landed on a poster for Rocks and Romance, and for some reason that even she could not fathom, she bought a ticket so she could roast the actors from the seats. To an entirely different performer now, as Lord Bong Rippington gazes out at the record-sized crowd he had drawn. All these pitiful peasants begging him for a spectacle they'd never seen before, and he was in a giving mood. His eyes scanned the faces until he saw exactly what he wanted. A middle-aged gnome was plucked from the crowd, climbed the stairs to the stage and put on the poncho handed to him. Little did the gnome know, the self-proclaimed Lord of Magic was about to make him disappear forever. Wherever you look, lords can be found in the story, but the mysterious death of Lord Loriger Swordhand had left Neverwinter in upheaval with a power vacuum. The nobility had quickly filled that space with a patsy of their own, but in doing so, they had finally revealed to the common folk just how manipulated they had been by their rich counterparts. A fire had been lit in the hearts of the people, and the anger that festered towards Loriger was so easily directed toward the new leaders. Little did the noble folk know the rebellion still believed the city deserved better, and was amassing stocks of wildfire to make their point. All cities have their secrets, and Yartar was no different. The gates to this merchant city opened, and a cart rolled through. It had been some time since Geordie Dogood had seen these streets, still affected by his encounter with those adventurers all those weeks ago. Looking around, it felt like nothing had changed, other than the water baron, of course. Even he had heard of the previous baron being removed in some sort of scandal. Geordie made his way to the market where he could usually pick up some passing trade. But as he rolled on, a flash of movement caught his eye. A small, dirty child snatched a stray piece of bread from a baker's stall. A painful smile on his face, Mr. Dogood changed direction and headed straight toward her. From someone who has nothing, we move finally to a hoard of treasures most kings would covet. Just looking at this pile of coins conjures the noise of each piece clinking together. One would need 1 billion lifetimes to spend this. But not just coins sit here. Nestled amongst them, there are items and artifacts of great worth, of great history, both emotional and physical. A small breeze pushed past, shifting a few coins, followed by a larger disturbance. First one, then many masks fell from above, crashing into the gold piles. Felgolos the dragon drifted down, eventually dropping into the mound, his body a canvas of scars and bruises. He let out a deep breath, closed his eyes for his first sleep in weeks. I turn to you as my fellow players and ask, in this landscape, what happened to our adventurers? Who wants to kick off and tell me what happened to one of your players?
I would love to go first because what I have to say may impact the others, and I would like them to feed into it should they so wish.
It's a murder spree, isn't it?
So Quinch does indeed take Sarissa's hand, and they do travel the land. Quinch renames himself. No longer the bringer of omens, nor the later humbled. Quinch is now Quinch the pupil. He takes heed from his learnings from the Arcana book and all the good that learning can do. He takes Sarissa's hand, and they do travel the world and seek ideas, seek knowledge, wanting to learn and grow together. But Quinch puts out his other hand and waits for his brethren to take it. And they may or may not.
Who next? Who wishes to go next?
I'll go next. So after the years of adventuring, Greg has realised there's more to life than mastering his magic. For years, he locked himself away, studying, trying to find a way to reverse the spell that was placed on him, to become his normal age, young once again. He's successful at this after many a year, and becomes both an author, writing about the antics of the circus, and a food critic, visiting different pubs, bistros and restaurants whilst travelling the world. There we go.
Lovely. Who next?
Crow's got still so many questions about his past and who he really is. But through this adventure with his friends, he's learnt that like a scab, the more he picks at it, the more it bleeds and will never truly heal. He needs to leave it for a while to heal, to feel better. So he's going to abandon that pursuit and accept that it doesn't define him if he doesn't let it. He has no need to go home. There's no place there that's greater than the place he's found amongst friends. Freedom, acceptance. So he's going to forge his own path. He knows he's no hero, but he's not bad. He's like a Ronin, if you will. He'll travel, help where he can, avoid grand quests where possible, but maybe try and meet up with his friends every now and then.
Daboff, Tweezle.
I'll go next. Dweezil walks up to Quinch and takes Quinch's hand in his own and says, I'm looking forward to hearing about all your amazing adventures, but there's something I have to do first. And Dweezil, once everything is finished with the giants and the dragons and everything, is at a bit of a loss. He knows he wants to do the right thing, and the only thing that he can think of that is a loose thread is returning the giant heads to Gelrin Fohammer in Tribor. So Dweezil does indeed travel south and goes to Tribor. He then continues to go further south and with the intention of visiting Nightstone to perhaps see his father if he can pluck up the courage to do so, but he never gets there because Dweezil finds himself transported to an entirely different plane of existence. He comes to in a place that's completely surrounded by mists. He finds himself in the dread realm of Ravenloft, which is a gloomy and horrific place. And in order to combat being in such a gloomy and horrific place, Dweezil finally fully embraces the goth lifestyle, and he forms a goth band in Barovia.
I'm assuming this is a reference.
And Daboff.
Much like the stereotypical rogue he is, Dabov just kind of vanishes one night while you guys are all sort of sleeping. He does leave a note behind that just says the next adventure awaits or something similar. And you hear stories of, various heists which have Dabov's sort of trademark calling cards. You kind of know it's him, but
Did you hear about all the backflips they did?
Sorry.
yeah. One such heist was Countess Sansori's flying castle, where a airship was stolen. Again, no one knows exactly who it was, but all that was left behind was Countess Sansori's original conch, which was returned in perfect condition. And then Dabov's aim, whether or not it's successful, is probably up to Nate, or can leave it as a mystery, is to eventually return to an Alki with an airship and ask if she wants to join in a life of adventure away from archery competitions and the boring, thing. She's obviously a very good archer, presumably. And an archer would be good to have on an adventure. And then that's where I'll leave Dabov's story for now. But yeah, try to build a legend without actually being known exactly who it is. It's hard to build a reputation as a rogue.
Lovely. That's the story of our heroes. But the best stories never truly end. They adapt, evolve, adding new layers and characters, touching lives years beyond their inception. It's a typically rowdy night in this inn. After all, it is one of the largest and most popular in Waterdeep, and tonight is like every other. It is precisely because of this atmosphere that the group of young men striding to the bar do not cause a stir in the patrons. They are nothing out of the ordinary on this cool spring evening. As the men, barely older than boys in truth, place their orders with the barmaid, they start telling each other jokes about the events of that day. One of them seems distracted and leans back against the bar, scanning the room. He eventually sees what he is searching for and steals a glance at a human girl sitting alone with her books. He does not know who she is, but he has been captivated by her several times in this bar. As she looks up, catching his eyes, he looks away, laughing at something one of his friends say. His eyes dart back, and she is still looking at him with a playful smile on her lips. Their eyes are locked, and he can't look away. Tonight is the night he introduces himself. He downs his drink for some courage, whispers in one of the other guys' ears, and moves towards the table. As he does so, he starts taking in all of her details. She really is the most beautiful girl he has ever seen. He notices her freckles, the bright red blouse covered up by some sort of long coat or robe, a pendant around her neck of is that a dwarven god? A small scar on her forehead, kind eyes, brown hair all tied back in a ponytail except a few strands at the front which have come loose and lay against the side of her face. He also noticed that she has a hand on the table and is distractedly moving her fingers with small flickers of flame moving across each tip. As he reaches her, he says something, but it's too loud in here. She doesn't hear him. So he leans in again. He repeats himself. "So you're a caster," nodding at the fingers. She looks down and then back at him. He's not exactly handsome, she thinks, but there is something calming and welcoming in his face. She's not seen a tiefling as homely as him before either, she thinks. "Looks like it," she replies, with just enough hint of sarcasm to let him know that she's just playing with him. There's a seat opposite her and he motions to sit down, which she agrees to. "You a warlock? Should I be worried about your patron getting jealous?" She lets out a small laugh, forcing it a little, just to put him at ease. No, you're safe. I don't have a patron." "A sorcerer, then?" Another laugh. "Ha! No, I sure as hell don't have any innate ability. But a sorcerer did save my life when I was younger." For a second the boy sees the sadness behind her eyes, and a hand moves towards the pendant around her neck. But then it's gone. "And it only strengthened my love for magic, so I moved here and I'm now training to be a wizard." "It looks like you're doing well." He nods at the flames on her fingers, cringing inside at how corny and desperate he sounds. "Oh, this is easy," she remarks. "I'm actually trying to learn how to have ice on one finger and fire on another, but the transference of energy and trying to maintain both hot and cold temperatures at the same time is proving difficult. You see, Tasha's principle is that magic cannot take and give at the same time, but it is..." She realises she is rambling and looks back at the boy, pushing away strands of hair from her face. What about you? Any arcane tendencies?" "No, not really. There's an old guy in my hometown that says his son was the greatest bard there ever was, so he's encouraging me to learn that, but truth be told, I feel I have a different path to tread." His hand absent-mindedly rests on the hilt of his sharpened cheese knife he has used to kill 3 goblins today. She nods, almost knowingly, and despite the lively room around them, a comfortable silence sits between the two, as they look into each other's eyes, feeling the exact same thing as the other person across the table, both fearing to say it out loud as if that might scare the connection away. After what feels like an eternity of silence, he leans in. "I'm so sorry, I forgot to introduce myself. I'm Grin Agador." She smiles, pointed at his empty cup and magically refilled it. "And I'm Cyrene Widdens. Stay for another drink?" And that is the end of Dice and Desire.
Wow.
Another delicious episode in the can. Thanks for listening. You can find us on social media. Maybe you could share your favourite moments with us. If you have any friends or family that you think would enjoy the antics of the circus, we'd appreciate it if you told them about our podcast. What is this voice? I don't know, but isn't it just so? If you have any spare change, you can support us financially on Ko-fi. It is of paramount importance that you do so. Open square bracket. Hi lads, here's the script for the outro I'm planning to record. I don't know how to end it, so let me know if you can think of anything witty to finish it at.